Welcome to Follow That Food, the show that takes you around the world to find the beginning, middle, and end of the world's best food stories. On this edition, from Old English mold to New Georgia gold, we're going to follow that Stilton. First, we'll have a look at what makes this blue blood so rich at this royal roost of cheese choice. Then we're off to Scotland for a creamy, dreamy Stilton stew. And then it's back to old London town with the #1 Stilton souffle around. Next stop, Hawaii, where our humble crumble makes its way into international waters. And then it's back to the Big Apple for a fruity encounter in the Empire State before a fabulous fondue finish just south of the Mason-Dixon line. So wheel out the cheese, please, and follow your nose as we follow that Stilton. Hello and welcome to Follow That Food, and we're in the rolling green fields of Nottinghamshire, one of the 3 counties that make England's premier cheese, Stilton, and these green fertile grasses give it that rich creaminess. In fact, Derbyshire, Leicestershire and Nottinghamshire are the only places that can create what they call the king of cheeses.
The most unique part about Stilton is it's a cheese that's made by people, that's monitored by people all the way through the process. It's made in small batches and is made in one area from milk that comes from very nearby.
The town of Stilton was 70 miles north of London on the main coach route to the industrial north, so passengers travelling that way had to stop in Stilton overnight and be fed. And what did they love? The beer and the cheese. The local variety of blue vein that farmers produced became a sensation. And in Stilton's case, it became a cheese that followed the path of travelling English men and women around the globe. In fact, our show follows the story not only of British cheese, but the empire itself. But if you're going to follow fine English cheese, you've got to stop and shop at Paxton and Whitfield, where people have since 1797. They not only sell all the cheeses to the royal family, they know exactly where we should be going next. But first, some vital information. For over 200 years, kings and commoners alike have been buying beautiful French Bries and briny British Blues at this little London shop on Jermyn Street. Owner and head cheesemonger Arthur Cunningham explains the allure of this bold British blue.
Stilton is arguably the finest cheese produced in this country. Mrs. Beeton, the great Victorian food writer, referred to Stilton as being the English Parmesan. Well, anything less like Parmesan than present-day Stilton is hard to imagine.
But why isn't the king of cheeses, Stilton, produced in the town of Stilton? Ah, good story.
Stilton actually never has been made in the village of Stilton. It was first made about 30 miles away by somebody called Elizabeth Scarborough. She actually sold it to the landlord of the Bell Inn at Stilton.
So this cheese comes back from 1727 as an origin.
That's more or less when it was first made, right, which was about the same time as our firm here, Paxton Whitfield, was starting.
Ah, really?
Yes.
So your firm and this cheese has had a long relationship?
Absolutely. It's you can imagine Harry Paxton and John Whitfield going on the stagecoach up to Nottinghamshire to collect their cheeses, rattling back with them to their customers in London.
So let's follow our noses north to the Colston Bassett Dairy in Nottinghamshire, where these green farms and pastures have been expediting excellent milk since 1913. This is the stuff of Stilton. And once that lovely lactose is brought here into the dairy, the rest is simple. Pasteurized and cooled until the curds and whey have separated. These curds are then milled, salted, mixed thoroughly by hand, and placed into cheese molds. But the Colston Bassett Brigade will admit their bold British blue vein gets a little help along the way. This is the secret to Stilton. This is the blue that goes into all blue cheeses. It's Penicillium roqueforti, and it's added to the original milk before the cheese is made. It lies dormant in the cheese until it's pierced by steel pins. When air gets into the cheese, it reacts with this and creates the mold that makes the blue, that makes the flavor, that makes the cheese sensational.
Right, the needles are coming out from the sides, in and out of the cheese, and then it rotates one station before the needles come in again. So basically it plugs it full of holes.
Oh, I see. There you are.
And they enter slightly downwards from one side and up from the other side, so you get a good
So any hole would create a blue vein from that?
Yeah, I mean, blue mold occurs naturally in the atmosphere. You leave a slice of bread on your kitchen counter, it will go blue eventually because of the blue mold.
You see, most cheeses, even great English cheeses made in other parts of the country, are left for about 4 to 6 hours before milling and salting stops the development of acidity. And that sets the cheese, and then it's left to mature. But Stilton has, for hundreds of years, let their cheese sit for 24 hours before they add the salt and stop the acidity. The result? A creamy, taste-filled cheese aged to perfection.
As a cheese ages, so the flavour develops and the cheese dries out. So the texture changes and the flavour increases with age. And when it's very young, it's still quite moist, hasn't developed very much flavour, and the cheese is not so good. When it gets too old, it's become very dry and really quite powerful. So it's a question of getting it at the right age.
A Stilton is absolutely perfect and ready to be eaten at around 12 to 16 weeks. And you should know the age of the cheese by knowing your cheesemonger. You see, a lot of stores, particularly supermarkets who like a longer shelf life, will put a cheese out that's a little young. And if you buy a young Stilton or any blue vein, you can tell. It tends to be a little whiter, crumbly, and the flavour is not as harmonised, whereas a mature Stilton is a perfect marriage.
Every single cheese is graded before it leaves the factory in terms of blue veining and general appearance. This cheese on the right, the appearance is fine. We can't tell until we look into it how it is inside.
Can we drill them and see what you find?
We can, yeah. So we use this cheese iron to withdraw a core from the inside. So what we look for, the texture is good, it's open, it's got veining, and there's plenty of blue in there. And turn the iron over, and you can see the cream adhering to the back. Now that means that the body inside is nice and creamy, but I would say that one is in good nick.
But not every Stilton graduates at the top of its class. Any cheese that is too blue or not blue enough is sold as a standard blue cheese, but not as Stilton. Now, what special customer is going to get this fine specimen of Stilton?
This one's going off to Scotland.
Scotland?
Yeah.
They make great cheeses themselves.
They make a lot of good cheese, a lot of good cheddar. Cheese called Dunlop, they're famous for.
But they don't make Stilton.
They don't make Stilton, but they like to eat it.
And so we're off to the Hebridean Highlands of Islay, an island just off the Scottish mainland, which is famous for three things: its farm-fresh produce, world-class Scotch whisky, and head chef of Port Charlotte Hotel, William Broderick's scrumptious Stilton soup. William, everywhere I've gone in England, I ask them wherever they get anything from, they say Scotland. This is really the breadbasket of the country, is it not?
It certainly is. I mean, with our meat, it comes from Islay. It's bred on Islay, we know where it comes from. It's killed on Islay and cooked on Islay. All fresh produce from beef, lamb, pork. The dairy is absolutely excellent. I mean, it produces milk for the islanders and it produces cream.
And cream, woohoo! Lovely cream.
From the local dairy, Eskernish.
Really?
Yep.
Eskernish.
Eskernish.
Okay. So William begins this divine dish by sautéing butter, chopped red onions, and a bunch of blanched broccoli. He then adds a vegetable stock before loading the big guns.
Next of all, we're going to add in some of our Stilton. I'm going to put a little drop cream in.
Oh my goodness, that looks marvellous. And with this splendid weather that you get here in Scotland, because this is summertime right now, you need a good soup, don't you?
To keep you warm, you certainly do.
I noticed the droplets of moisture on your head. It's not quite rain, but it does build up, doesn't it?
That's what we call a drizzle in Scotland.
It's a drizzle.
It's a drizzle.
Well, do you mind if I try some of your internationally famous Stilton soup? I'll just brush the drizzle off the spoon. But look, it's fine Scottish drizzle, and that's to be admired. Oh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. I could stand in the rain all day and eat that.
Absolutely lovely.
Oh, man.
Warm your cockles.
And with my cockles nicely coddled, we continue on our quest for the best. When we return, it's a Commonwealth connection with souffle perfection. Then we'll head east for the big island of Hawaii, where we follow our Stilton from turf to surf. Welcome back to Follow That Food. We followed our Stilton from verdant field to the real Scottish deal. And now we're going to chase our cheese of choice back to the city that loves Stilton more than any other. And when in London, there is only one place in town to experience contemporary Covent Garden cuisine with a wisp of old world luxury. And that's the hotel restaurant called Axis at 1 Aldwych. And who can you turn to for a traditional French dish in an English hotel? A chef from New Zealand, of course. In fact, New Zealand produces 25% of the international dairy trade, which is why executive chef Mark Gregory has chosen a superb Stilton souffle to show off the softer side of this bold British blue. I stand back and await your magnificence.
He'll be here in a moment.
Okay, all right.
But until then, this is my simple custard. Separated egg whites here. I was taught by an old master. A tiny bit of corn flour stabilizes the whole thing.
Corn flour. They didn't show me that at the Ritz in France.
Didn't they?
No, this is a trick you've learned here in London, is it, Mark?
It was. So what we're doing is whisking the egg whites to a firmish peak. See, it's firm, it's holding its shape.
Right.
All we do now, put a little bit into the souffle base just to mix it up, make it a little light. Right, one of the things I would like to do now, a few knobs of Stilton. What'll be nice then is you'll get little pockets of melted flavour through the souffle.
Using well-buttered ramekins, Mark pours the soufflés and sends our little lovelies to the kitchen for baking, which gives us just enough time to prepare a crispy, creamy Stilton salad.
And what do we need for it? We need a little fennel, a little chervil. It's a fresh herb. And for creaminess, avocados.
Lovely.
Right, a hot spoon. It helps you cream it a little more easily.
A hot spoon?
Yes.
Ah.
As I said, I didn't really want to mess with the Stilton. It's such a wonderful, beautiful taste.
This is a salad you could make up earlier in the day, and the souffle, as you say, the mix you can make the night before.
Beat some eggs, put it together in a mould that are already pre-buttered in the fridge.
With that said, this fancy food becomes as simple as 1, 2, 3, and in under 10 minutes, voila, a steamy, Stilton-filled souffle that will have your guests agog. Mark, shall we?
Let's dig in.
So what am I going for here, the walnuts?
No, the wet bit.
The wet bit?
The wet bit.
Oh, okay. Just get a little bit of that cheese, make sure that's there. Oh, God, that's got flavour.
It's nice, isn't it?
Oh, that is so yummy.
It is yummy.
Thank you, Mark. I know while you're here in that lovely London drizzle that you've come to know so well,
Absolutely.
I'll be under a palm tree having a big pot of this.
Oh, thanks. Goodbye then.
Sorry, Mark, but someone's got to follow our fabulous fromage to the luscious land of hula skirts and flowered shirts. So off to the South Pacific I go to comb the beautiful beaches of this opulent island chain that was discovered by the Empire's own Captain James Cook in 1789. When you next visit this wonderful land of Hawaii, look carefully at its old flag. It has a Union Jack in the corner in honor of its British origins. In fact, what did those Londoners love to travel with? Food they craved, like Stilton, and they left it here as part of the tradition. And if there is anyone who knows how to dish up tropical takes on traditional tastes, it's Chef Peter Merriman, who shows us how to fire up continental fare with Waimea flair in a garden kitchen that's Eden on earth. Are you a lover of Stilton, Peter Merriman?
I love Stilton. We serve it at the restaurant at Merriman's here in Waimea, and we do actually a poha green apple vinaigrette with a grilled fish on a salad. I'm going to do a version of that, and I'm going to take some apple juice and put it in there. And to that, I'm going to put just a little bit of champagne vinegar. Then I'm going to just add in my olive oil a little bit at a time. I like to keep.
What kind of olive oil?
Here I'm using a. Once again, I'm using a virgin olive oil, not an extra virgin.
Well, that looked pretty easy.
And I'll just drizzle this in a little bit at a time. Okay, but we're going to put this aside. This is all made.
Oh, it's done. What about the little green apples?
We're going to put this right in at the very end. But in the meantime, we'll grill some opaka paka, and we'll make a Stilton bruschetta, which is just grilled toast with some Stilton on it. That's that thing that Captain Cook brought.
Yes, right.
It's not the same chunk that he brought.
It's been sitting in your fridge since 1789.
Right, exactly.
Aged. And while Peter's opaka paka simmers, he lightly coats his bruschetta with olive oil and bronzes it on the grill. Meanwhile, I'm left to toss the salad.
These, by the way, are baby greens grown right out there.
Your little darlings.
So they're
being moistened by late Hawaiian afternoon rain as
right,
we speak, Peter.
There you go.
I think you're the only man I know who has a kitchen and a lettuce field. You have a fondness for greens, don't you, Peter?
Well, we want to get them not too far from field to table.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take our Stilton, and I'm just going to spread a little bit. I'm not going to overdo it. I don't want too much here. And here we go, our fresh opaka paka.
Wow.
There, and then that would be enough, but we're not going to stop there. We're just going to take the Stilton bruschetta and put it right on there. And
this is what has made you one of the top restaurants in Hawaii.
That's right.
You know how to combine the classics of ages with the new tastes of Hawaii.
That is a very good point. I'm glad you picked up on that. It's a little twist on a classic, and right there, the Stilton guys have done all the work for me. All we do is assemble them, and everybody thinks we're great. And what is it, 213-year-old Stilton? Is that what we figured out?
This is Captain Cook Stilton.
Captain Cook brought this particular chunk of Stilton on his boat.
And that's why the Hawaiians really killed him.
I don't blame them. They were going for the Stilton. Good for them.
And that's our story, and we're sticking to it. Next, we follow our aromatic friend to yet another corner of the empire, and that's the Empire State, before a southern fling with some cheesy zing. Next on Follow That Stilton. Welcome back to Follow That Food, where we've whisked our wonderful wheel of Stilton from its old country niche to a bikini lover's beach. And now, in the Big Apple, we'll pair it with a peach. Anyone who has ever visited New York in the summer will tell you it can be hotter than hot. So the secret to dining right is dining light, but without skimping on fabulous flavors like Stilton. Chef Michael Blatt made his Manhattan reputation by combining unexpected pairings. A signature salad that wowed New York food critics uses wine-poached peaches, fresh strawberries, whipped cream, and the classic combination of walnuts and English Stilton. English Stilton arrives in the land of the Empire State. This is Michael Blatt, executive chef of Tom Restaurant here at 60 Thompson Hotel. You are going to do something with our Stilton because you love it, of course, and this is why you buy it. But what are you going to do with it?
Okay, what we're doing first is we're taking our peaches and we're actually poaching them in a French dessert wine. So you just poach it. These are very soft, very juicy, and the pit comes right out, and you're good to go.
Great.
Okay, we're just going to set it right here. We have our little mixture of Stilton cheese. This is just equal amounts of Stilton, just crumbled up, diced strawberry, and about half that amount of chopped walnuts.
To stop the gumminess getting
Exactly,
up. Right,
exactly,
okay.
exactly. Okay, and also on the side, what we want to do is just add a drop of whipped cream. Okay, we're just going to, and just want to just stuff a little bit right in that little base right there.
Right. I can see somebody eating this outside on a gorgeous day like
wonderful.
today.
That's wonderful.
What's this?
Candied walnuts, just a little bit of honey drizzled on top of the walnuts, put them in the oven, about 10-15 minutes. We're just going to drizzle that around, okay? And then we have a little tuile, okay? It's a cookie tuile made out of phyllo dough, and then we have Stilton cheese melted on top.
Mind if I try a little of that?
Give it a try.
It's like a little sweet pizza.
Exactly, so it's phyllo dough, a little bit of confectioner's sugar.
Wow, that's interesting.
Good.
I mean, in a good way, not a euphemism for bad. You know, people say, that's interesting.
Yes.
No, it is interesting.
Thank you, thank you.
It's good.
Okay, and as a final touch, we're just going to take a little bit of balsamic vinegar, just it's reduced. Just going to dot it around.
Why do you use balsamic in here?
Anytime you have cheese, it just kind of coats your tongue. You want something to just cut over that. So the vinegar just works very well.
So you don't get that
Exactly.
feel.
It just cleans your tongue.
Yeah, because after too much cheese, it can go.
Exactly.
And that's what the balsamic cuts.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Well, we got to try it.
There you are.
Hey, Michael? Oh, you got to get fruit in it. Oh, yeah. Because the sweetness in them. Who would have thought? Strawberries and Stilton together. It's a great combo.
Good.
Michael, that's why you're a genius. That's why Tom Restaurant is the talk of the town.
There you go.
But we have more places to talk about and more places to go as we follow that Stilton. Next, we're gone with the wind as we follow our Stilton from the city that doesn't sleep to a Savannah bed and breakfast fit for a king. Coming up on Follow That Stilton. Ever since the British first governed Savannah in the early 1700s, it's been a city famous for gracious entertaining. Today, the elegant inhabitants of this living jewel love to combine the flavors of its historic past with contemporary American cuisine. The result? A 21st century fondue with a tang of an aged old British blue. And Savannah's most popular bed and breakfast, the Granite Steps still carries a torch for Stilton. And its chef Michael Carnes shares with us how Southerners treat a fine old English friend when they come to visit. Okay, so that's just Gruyere cheese melted down.
A little bit of white wine. We used a Viognier from our Chateau Lam winery.
Okay,
so a little bit of kirsch.
A little wine, kirsch, salt and pepper, Gruyere, all melted in there. Melted in. Hang on, I gotta smell this. Ooh, yeah. I could stick a big dollop of bread in there now. But you have something far more exotic.
We have some black mission figs that we took and we quartered them, and then we went ahead and stuffed them with a little bit of Stilton cheese and then wrapped it with some prosciutto.
Stuffed figs? Yes. And then you're gonna dip them, in a Stilton fondue?
Yep. Very nice, very nice. Well, let's go ahead and...
Okay. Look at that. Chunko Stilton going into that fondue. Oh, that's why you put it in last.
Yeah.
Because you like, you like the chunks of Stilton to come out. You could just stick a fig on a fork and drop it in.
Yep, we can also do sitting here, since we're in Georgia, we can have a little bit of a peach.
Would you do that? Yeah. Try fresh fruit and Stilton fondue.
Oh. Huh?
Oh. The salt and the sweet?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, let's go. Let's do this.
Okay, here we go.
Wait. Look at that little baby. I've followed it since it was a little pail of milk in the English countryside. Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
The Granite Steps, my goodness, what an elegant, tasty place. And with liquid luxury on a stick, we'll never go hungry again. And the lovely thing about Stilton is it doesn't mind being frozen. If you cut it into small portions and wrap it and put it in a freezer, it can last for months. When you're ready to eat, pull it out 24 hours and let it thaw in the normal part of the refrigerator. And just before serving, bring it to room temperature for maximum flavor. We hope you've had maximum flavor out of our show, and we hope to see you next time on Follow That Food.